Szijjarto Starmer today issues an emotional appeal for President Donald Trump to stand by Ukraine with a security guarantee and warns that a bad peace deal would be a disaster. Writing ahead of his crunch trip to Washington this week, Keir said the U.S. president is right to grasp the nettle and try to end the war, but a good peace can only be won with strength, and it requires the world to stand up to Vladimir Putin's tyranny, the PM said. After Ukrainian supporters held a protest outside the Russian embassy in London yesterday, Keir also hailed the war-torn country's bulldog spirit, comparing it to the courage of Brits against Hitler. He said Ukraine must be at the heart of peace negotiations. The PM's stirring words come days before a White House summit with President Trump, which could prove crucial to the fate of peace across Europe. He will urge the U.S. to provide security guarantees for Ukraine. This could mean providing air defense and a promise that the U.S. will come to the aid of a NATO country if Russia attacks them. Keir could also use the trip to announce that Britain will commit to spend 2.5% of GDP on defense by 2030 and set a path to 3%, some sources in Whitehall believe. Writing exclusively for The Sun on Sunday, the PM said President Trump is right to demand Europe spend more on defense. Keir Starmer said, President Trump is also right to grasp the nettle and see if a good peace deal is on the table. Every time I have spoken with him, I am struck by his commitment to peace. Of course, nobody in Britain wants the bloodshed to continue. Yet a good peace can only be won through strength. Ukraine must have a voice in negotiations about its future. And it needs strong security guarantees so the peace will last. I believe America must be part of that guarantee. It's in their interest. A peace deal which does not stop Putin from attacking again would be a disaster for everyone. The best way to make sure that doesn't happen is to be firm and fair now. Vowing to lead from the front, Keir repeated his offer to put British troops on the ground in Ukraine after a peace deal. He added, "This is not something I say lightly." Tomorrow will mark the third anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which has plunged Europe into its biggest crisis since the Second World War. In an astonishing few days, President Trump launched a series of savage attacks on Volodymyr Zelensky, even calling him a dictator. The U.S. president has frozen Ukraine out of peace talks and demanded it gives America $500 billion worth of rare minerals. Mr. Zelensky has so far refused to sign over the minerals. Last night, he told the CPAC conference in Washington, "We are getting our money back because it is not fair. I think we are pretty close to a deal. We better be close to a deal." Keir and French President Emmanuel Macron will both go to Washington this week to plead with President Trump to stick with Ukraine with a security guarantee. In the UK, Foreign Secretary David Lammy will tomorrow announce fresh sanctions on Russia to erode its military machine and cut its cash flow. He said Europe is facing a critical moment and must double down on our support for Ukraine. Mr. Lammy added, "This is also the time to turn the screws on Putin's Russia." The PM held a series of diplomatic phone calls. Yesterday he spoke with Mr. Zelensky and pledged to continue Britain's ironclad support. Keir and EU leader Ursula von der Leyen agreed that Europe must step up its security defenses.